Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. If you are new, welcome. I'm so glad to have you. This is the show where I recap live trials so you have something to listen to while you're crafting. And if you're not a crafter, welcome anyway. Glad to have you. So I wanted to recap. What a week. Oh my gosh. I know it's Saturday, but there's so much to cover. And they're having trial today. Chad Daybell. The jury is deliberating the death penalty. Yeah, we're already there. I'm going to tell you how that's going to go down. So I can't even wrap my mind about it. Closing arguments were Wednesday, and Thursday we had a verdict. Yeah, we had a verdict in 2 cases. I'm covering the Chad Daybell case, and I start getting texts that there's a verdict in the Trump case. I'm like, what? Oh my, of course I'm not covering that. I wish they had cameras in that courtroom. I really do. Although the subject matter, not anything I probably would have understood. I don't do business records at all. Anyway, interesting outcome on that one, huh? Okay, back to Chad Daybell. So then Friday, I'm tuning in yesterday and I'm thinking, okay, I'm getting ready for, they said he said, we'll be back in an hour on Thursday afternoon. We'll be back in an hour. We're going to start the sentencing phase. Well, what they did come back in an hour. And what he did was he read the jury some instructions. And then once he was done reading the instructions, he let everybody go for the day. And then he said they would come back the next day because they needed to be sequestered, these jurors. So they had to, I don't know if I think they went home that night, but they're now being sequestered again. So they were sequestered one night for the verdict. That was Wednesday night. And last night for the decision on death penalty. So they start fresh in the morning, Friday morning. We're all waiting and we're waiting and we're waiting like hours. They were supposed to start first thing. They don't. It was like a 2-hour delay or more. They finally come on, and the only explanation we get is there was some logistical stuff going on. I'm thinking, well, maybe they had to move the cameras around. No, they were moving cameras around during the feed. So I don't know what was going on, to be honest with you. So he brings in the jury. Then he remembers, I've got to do something outside the presence of the jury, sends them back out. And to my surprise, Chad Daybell, what he had to do without the jurors present is inquire of Chad Daybell whether he was freely and voluntarily giving up his right to put on mitigation. Yes, he chose not to put on any mitigation. Now, what usually happens in a death penalty case is the defense will hire a mitigation specialist, and they'll put on mitigation. They talked about how he was, this big guy in the Boy Scouts and really involved with Boy Scouts. And he was, a leader in his church and, all these do good things, and they could have brought in people to talk about that. Nothing. And so the judge asked him, are you doing this, has your counsel advised you? Yes. You're choosing to waive. Yes, I'm choosing to waive all that. So what does that tell me? That he's anxious to get this thing over with so he can get into another probation and meet up with Lori. Yeah. Anyway, if he's still believing all that, I assume he is. You don't just give up those beliefs. Did he ever really believe it, you think? I don't know. That's a whole nother discussion. Then he gave up allocution. Now, what is allocution? That's where he has the right to make a statement on his, and Lori did make a statement. She did choose to do an allocution, but he said no, he wasn't going to talk. And that's the most we've heard him say the whole trial. So then they started opening statements. All right, we're going to have opening statements. The prosecution gets up there and not much at all. Nothing really. I'm like, okay. It was very short, very, very short. And they, again, emphasize, where were these children found? In his backyard. So defense gets up there and makes the argument that he's not a worldly man. No. He's got no experience with relationships. I haven't heard this kind of a story since Steve Martin did I Was Born a Poor Black Child. Remember that? In the Jerk? I was born a poor black child. Anyway, Chad Daybell was born a religious zealot anyway. So he grew up in this small town, in this LDS faith, very sheltered, just his siblings, goes off on a mission, comes back, marries Tammy, the only girl he's ever had a relationship with. And, he's just a small town guy who was duped. And here comes Lori, this bombshell, gorgeous blonde, who had been married 4 times already. And then he said something that I thought was hilarious. All that glitters is not gold. Lori had glitter. Lori was glitter, but she was not gold. I would agree with that. Anyway, that was the theme there. He's just a small town boy who was duped by this blonde, glittery widower. So then the judge said to the prosecution, okay, you're going to put on any aggravation, evidence of aggravation. No. They can rely on what they did during the trial. And the jury knows that. They can consider everything that came in during the trial. So they didn't have anything additional to add. Okay. So now we're not getting any aggravating or mitigating factors. So we're done. So now you have to hear victim impact statements. So they went right into victim impact statements. And we heard first from first they had to move the cameras around because the judge did not want any of the victims shown on camera. But, we've seen them all. So Tammy's father spoke very briefly. It's very sad. Tammy's mother, not there. She passed away last year. Passed away. With none of this resolved, God bless her heart. Anyway, Kay Woodcock spoke, bless her heart. She had a lot to say about JJ. And it was very sad. And we've all heard Kay speak. Kay and Larry, they're very passionate. If it hadn't been for Kay, none of this would have been discovered. Kay just pushed this thing. She insisted that they go find JJ, do a welfare check, go fight, this is not, something's off here. And sure enough, and then she finds that Verizon, or not, the Amazon account on the computer, on Charles's computer, where Lori is, looking up wedding bands and purchasing stuff on Charles's Amazon after he's dead. Anyway, so Kay played a really key role in this. And Larry spoke. He did a press conference after the verdict and was very complimentary of a lot of podcasters and how that, everybody kept this in the forefront. And he was, what a sweet man, very, very sweet man. And then he said that they were, when this is over, they're going to take a very slow trip back to, they're from Lake Charles, Louisiana, slow trip back to Lake Charles, and they're going to stop and smell the roses along the way. Bless their hearts. Anyway, so then we hear from Matthew Douglas, Tammy's brother, Tylee Ryan's aunt, which was Joe Ryan's sister. I thought that was interesting. She talked about how, how excited Joe and Lori were to have Tylee, and they had picked out names before she was born, and it was just really sweet. And then Tammy's sister-in-law spoke. She is married to one of Tammy's brothers, and she talked about, and this was a theme with all the siblings. All the siblings spoke of Tammy, and she talked about how there's now this severed relationship in the family. And she said, anytime you kids want to come back, Chad's kids will not speak to any of them. At least, I don't know if all of them, but at least we know a couple of them, Garth and Emma, don't speak to these people. And so she talked about these severed relationships with Chad's kids, and said, anytime you guys want to come back, we're here. Very, very sad. Tammy's younger brother spoke. She's got a lot of siblings. Tammy's sister spoke, Samantha William, and I want to play a small clip from there.
I am asked about a pet cemetery. And a few days later, I watch with the world as the bodies of two precious missing children are found on the same property where my sister died. I wrenched and sobbed over learning about JJ and Tylee. 2 more victims, and no peace to be found for anyone.
Yeah, gut-wrenching. Oh my God. She spoke for about 10 minutes, and I will put the link to that up here if you want to listen to the whole thing. Then we heard from Tammy's older brother, Michael Douglas, and he was very passionate. I'll also put a link to his statement. But here is a clip from his statement.
I then received a phone call from my mother indicating that there were 2 missing children. I remember where I was, what I was doing, and the exact feeling of, oh, please no. Please don't let this be so. My heart sank, and I said to my mom, Mom, Chad told us they were empty nesters. Surely this is a mistake, not anything to worry about. Maybe they have them in hiding. Maybe there's something else going on. Oh, I was wrong again. People would come up and ask if the kid had been found yet when they would see me in public. The stress and anxiety grew. And then the day came that the children were found. I broke into more pieces than I can count. I was at work, began crying hysterically and had to be rushed into an office. I was surrounded by people that had figured out that this was coming long before I did. Hope was lost.
Like, where are the tissues? So sad. What this family has been through hell. They didn't even know these kids. They didn't know these kids. And they're being drug into this. And, they're introduced to this new wife who he marries 2 weeks after the funeral, and then lies to all of the siblings about when they actually got married. But they soon learn the truth, and then says they're empty nesters. Then all of a sudden there's these 2 kids, and just craziness, absolute craziness. So the last statement, well, I'm doing it out of order. Colby Ryan spoke. Poor Colby. He has lost absolutely everything. And he talked about that. I've lost my mom. I've lost my dad. I've lost my siblings. Yeah. Here, I'm going to play his entire statement because it's only 5 minutes. So take a listen.
It is very hard for me. Very hard for me to put into words what it means to have lost my entire family. I lost the ability to watch Tylee and JJ grow up. I lost my relationship with my little brother, which took years to build. Ugh.
It's okay if you need a moment. Take a moment if you need to. It's all right.
It took years to build to even have him be able to look us in the eyes. I lost the ability. Sorry. Sit with my little sister and talk and share our lives. So in short, I lost everything I've ever known. I lost the ability to share my children with them, or have my children have the privilege to know them and be loved by them. My 3 kids will never know the kindness of Tylee's heart. Or JJ's silly and goofy personality. But more importantly, Tylee and JJ lost their lives. Tylee will never be able to travel like she always wanted to, or have a family of her own. Or find herself in this world. JJ will never be able to spread his love or his light around the world the way he used to. The only way I could describe the impact of their lives being lost is like a nuclear bomb dropping. I will never be able to share her gifts with the world, or have all the people who love her get to hear her incredible laugh. Sorry. Ugh. JJ will never get to grow up. And share his one-of-a-kind personality with the world. And everyone who's lost him feels the void. It's not an overstatement to say that I lost everything. But more importantly, we all lost Tylee and JJ. I stand here today, motherless, fatherless, sisterless, and brotherless. The only course forward is to trust in Christ, knowing that he has them in his arms, and wait for the day that we all meet again. I pray for all of you who have bleeding hearts. Thank you.
Yeah, so sad. So that was it. So then we go to closing arguments. Again, very brief, not much at all. Yeah, that's it. And what the jury has to decide is they have to find that there's aggravating factors in order to get to the death penalty. And so what they're looking at is several things, like 6 things. 6 or 7 things. Anyway, so did he kill, was Tammy, Tylee, and JJ killed for remuneration? In other words, money. So on the closing arguments, the prosecution pointed out, well, they talked about Tammy's life insurance. They talked about the Social Security with the kids because his life insurance fell through. Forgive me, there's so many names here. Lori, had to tell him, well, he changed the beneficiary to Kay Woodcock, and I'm no longer getting that money, but I'm still getting the Social Security. So, all these people died for remuneration so they could be together. This is what the prosecution was saying. All the obstacles had to be out of the way, and then they had to have money to live on the beach in Hawaii. Then the second thing for each of these people, Tylee, JJ, and Tammy, was that the jury has to find that the murder was particularly heinous, atrocious, or cruel, manifesting an exceptional depravity. So it has to be like just, heinous. And they argue, what could be more heinous? These are all done in the name of religion. Yeah. I mean, you guys, the jury saw the pictures of, Tylee was burned. JJ was smothered, horrible, horrible. And Tammy smothered in her own home where she thought she would be safe. So that's what the prosecution argued. Then the defense gets up and argues that the only overt act that his client did was a couple of things, nothing heinous. In other words, he wasn't the one that killed them. And I believe that. Alex is the one that killed these individuals. But he conspired. He was probably there. He may have helped kill Tammy. So that makes it not heinous. If someone else kills somebody and you conspired to have them do it, that makes it makes it less heinous because you didn't participate. I don't know. That's what the jury's supposed to buy. Okay, so they start deliberation. And they go for 6 hours. They ended deliberations last night about, I think it was about 8 o'clock their time. Yeah. Because again, they're sequestered. So what else do they have to do? So they kept deliberating. 6 hours. That's a long time. And it does have to be unanimous. If just one person says, no, then they can come back out and they can tell the judge, we weren't unanimous, but, it was a majority, but, and then the judge can give life without the possibility of parole. So either way, the death penalty is so broken that it probably wouldn't happen for years and years and years, especially in Idaho, where they just tried to murder. They just tried to carry out the death penalty on a particular person. They couldn't find a vein. It was like this big debacle, and he's still sitting on death row. Yeah. Crazy. Okay, so that's what happened on Chad Daybell. They're coming back this morning, Saturday morning, to continue their deliberations. So we may get a decision today. Everybody may rush back into the courtroom and we get a decision on the death penalty or the sentence today. So, because, they want to get home to their families, right? If they do it today, they still have Sunday to get to be with their families before they have to start work on Monday. Anyway, I got a couple more videos to get out to you. I still have, I want to cover the sentencing in the Michelle Draconis case, and I'm also covering day 3 and 4 of the David Swift case. So stay tuned for that this weekend. Have a great day, everybody. Take care. Bye.